relevant to you. So we think that by offering targeted investments, you're going to definitely foster growth. The things to pay attention to here, like our life insurance. Life insurance in Latin America is kind of a foreign concept. Some people do have it, but not that many. And so, is anyone trying to describe life insurance to a Latino customer? Anyone have real first aid? Young lady in the back there, can you share your story of sort of how it went, and did you sell? Yeah.
God, he said young.
Round of applause for good self-esteem. She's very young. Come on.
I think it's pretty easy to sell life insurance. It seems like they either don't believe it or they do believe it. And if they do believe it, they want it for the whole family. And if they don't believe it, they don't want it for anybody. So, but we have a pretty easy time. I recently, this week, had 2 loans for a guy that had a loan from us before, but going back to that loan thing, we had a guy that came in and bought a new car, so we asked him about financing it. Our rate was higher. We said we had free, let's see, we're not supposed to call it GAP, so whatever we call it. We call it GAP, but whatever we call it. Loan balance payment, and we had ICDI. And so he took the loan even though our rate was higher, and it was a shorter term, it was $100 a month more, so that was another disability out for us for about $800. Then he came back in the next day and wanted his wife, and his wife's car insured, and we sent it in, and they said, no, I'm sorry, can't work. She owes too much in the car, and I laid in bed 3 nights thinking about that thing, thinking she wants disability for $800 too, and so I have a little hard time taking a no until I'm sure it's dead. So I went to a supervisor, and he overturned it, and they did both loans with us, and I got 2 health policies that were, a couple $1,000 annual premium, and 2 car loans, and they've had 2 car loans with us before. So they are loyal. I can't believe how loyal, and both payments were higher and shorter terms with us, but they wanted to be with State Farm because our people thought would speak Spanish with them. But the life insurance to me is an easy sale for if they believe in it.
Did you happen to ask them for any referrals?
No, you know what, I've got 2 new Hispanic people, and they're having a hard time with that, but we've been talking about that, because I said, you guys wouldn't have a hard job at all. But I think if I put them to work at 2 o'clock and let them go home at 10 o'clock at night, that would be way a lot easier than what we're doing right now. Because they like to come in late in the afternoon and stay forever.
The Hispanics are 2.5 times more likely to provide you with a referral when asked.
I agree with that.
The operative word is when asked. And so, just please ask them, that's all. So that's something very tangible you can start next week. Just ask them, and you just say, would you be kind enough to suggest someone else who might talk with? I think you'll be, really delighted, and give them a cup of coffee.
Over the last several years, we've gone from basically 0 Hispanics to almost 17% of the book to now Hispanic.
17%.
And it's all referrals.
Oh, good, okay.
All referrals. And we have an AFO that believes that enough that we're getting some help with that, but it was all referrals. And we all probably start out as agents being told, seek 3 referrals when you make a sale. And they'll give you the 3+. They'll add more than that if you just ask them.
It's true, and they're like happy to do it. Again, making a very general statement sometimes. Angle customers are just about the transaction. They want to get in and out. They pre-shop everything on the internet. They want a relationship, but in a very real sense, they want to connect with you as a human being. And then if you treat them well, then they have a sense of loyalty to you that they're more than happy to express through referrals. So I'm so glad to hear you doing that. Anyone else doing referrals in the Hispanic market yet? If not, please do that. It's a very tangible, very tangible, immediate way to increase your sales. And don't be afraid to cross-sell, because their knowledge of financial services is, in a general sense, not at par with the general market yet. They're just not that familiar with all the services, and they find them somewhat complex. And when you're going to try to sell them at a retail level, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Really, really, really is. That's another very tangible technique that you can do. A picture of a transaction is much better than a written description of the same. all the time in the Hispanic market. So let's look at a little bit more data, then we're going to switch gears. Now this is sort of interesting, that immigrants tend to develop relationships pretty quickly in their first 6 years. They do this from two sources. One is branding and advertising of companies that have been trying to market to them over the last maybe 10 years or so across all spectrums of the financial services sector. You're seeing more regional banks, localized banks, opening their doors, more grassroots outreach efforts across the financial services spectrum. Certain places are taking different forms of identification, like the matricular card out here in the West Coast, making it easier to do business because their money is all green and they have a lot of it available. So when choosing a bank, though, proximity is important as well as Spanish-speaking representatives. I started working regarding the Community Reinvestment Act about 15 years ago, and the bankers, in a very general sense, did not want anything to do with this, and they did just minimal stuff to avoid getting spanked by the government, EEOC, that kind of stuff. And it had its place, I guess, to try to legislate behavior, but really, I think it's better to let the market forces legislate behavior. And so, as you started to see banks opening up more urban branches, it's not just banks, it's all types of retail things, like you guys, like Best Buy is opening up a store in Compton next week, and Magic Johnson is going to be their spokesperson for Best Buy, not just for Compton, but the world. That's not been announced yet, but you'll be hearing about it because he's an extraordinary sort of story and brand. So it's all about having proximity to your clients, and you all are perfect for that because, like a good neighbor, you're physically in the neighborhood. But you've got to let them know, bienvenidos, let them feel welcome to your location and to you and to your staff. So now we're going to change gears a little bit here. I wanted to give you enough substance so that you understood that there's science behind what you're doing. There's a lot of science behind the attitudes that you're seeing me talk about and the behavior that customers exhibit. But this is a little bit different now. So now what we're going to do is sort of humanize some of the statistics. So we're going to now start getting passionate. Okay, round of applause if you're ready to be passionate. All right, well, I'm going to make it easy. It's all about the music in this particular case. So there are different styles of music. As there's no such thing as Hispanic, there are all these different styles, and this is just, again, the tip of the sort of iceberg. So if we can roll the tape, we're going to do something called Zumba. Anybody know Zumba yet? You know, are you Zumba? Here, come on up, come on up. Round of applause, let's go. Everybody up, let's go. Let's go, everybody.